All right, Samsung Galaxy S3. We have a brief overview and my first initial thoughts on the device. Moving right along, we'll talk a little bit about the specs. Brand new, got it today. 4.8-inch Super HD AMOLED Pentile, not HD AMOLED Plus. 8-megapixel camera, quad-core 1.4 gigahertz processor, GPS with GLONASS, and a beefy 2100 milliamp battery. So that being said, on to the hardware. The phone, I think Samsung did a really nice job with the design. I really like how it feels in my hand. It doesn't feel cheap. The S2, noticeably lighter, noticeably sort of cheaper feeling. Some people call it like a Samsung TV remote. I would agree. This is nice. They did a really good job with how this backing feels, how the phone feels in your hand, the nice rounded edges, the nice thin profile with the sort of quasi-metal side panel there. Really, really nice phone. Really nice upgrade from the S2 in terms of a lot of different things. Processor, screen, you know, we'll talk more about that later in a more thorough comparison between these two guys, but we'll get the S2 out of the way. Talk a little bit more about the color, this pearl white. They've also got a pebble blue, which I've got here in the box, which haven't decided to open yet. I'll probably do that in another video, but say if we look at the iPhone 4S compared to the S3, you'll notice that, first of all, the screen's significantly bigger than the iPhone 4S. Sort of unfair to compare them at this point in time. Apple's going to release the iPhone 6 or the new iPhone, if you ask me, in a couple months here. So we'll do a couple comparisons of these guys later as well. Check my other videos, but for now we'll get the iPhone out of the way. Talk more about the S3. Biggest thing, I guess, that Samsung was pushing for on here was the OS. And this is just a brief introduction, so I'm not going to talk a whole lot about the OS, more just my general impressions. First of all, the screen, phenomenal. I think they did a fantastic job on the screen. The high resolution pixels, or high resolution display, it's really, really difficult to see those pixels. I wouldn't call it Retina display. I wouldn't call it as good as, say, the One X. I do think the One X is pretty nice with its resolution. I think you can see a big difference between these two phones. That's just my opinion, but we'll get the One X out of the way here as well. Other nice thing about this phone is the camera. The 8-megapixel camera on this guy is superb. It very, very, very good in my first day of testing. Stunningly good quality pictures. I took that on a walk today. Took this on a walk today. Samsung, the S2 had a really good camera. The Note had a really good camera, and they've continued it with the S3. So on to the OS and how it works. I think it's really, really smooth. I think that it's a great feeling OS. I think everything sort of flows. Very, very little, if any, lag. I did see a little bit, but I've got widgets, I've got live wallpaper, so I'll give it some credit for that. I did notice a couple bugs, actually, in the software so far. Google Voice had a bug where I called out and it crashed the OS. There was also another bug in another application, actually. I'm trying to remember what it was. Maybe it was my contacts or something. But anyway, some part of the OS crashed. Oh, it was an email. That's what it was. I was trying to do a search in my email, and it crashed the email program. So a couple little things that Samsung has to work out with the software. I won't discredit it too much at this point in time since the phone is brand new. But it does lend itself to sort of the discerning buyer, you know, if you don't like dealing with crashes. The other thing I wanted to talk about that I noticed is that they've included an LED light up here, which is blue when you get a notification and red when you charge. And I don't know, it's sort of cheesy. I think it takes away from this really cool design when you have this glowy red light in the corner when you plug it in. I don't know, I think they probably could have left it out. You can see the soft touch illumination buttons here. Those are pretty nice. The center key, you know, being redesigned, I also find that a little bit troubling to use. If we look at the S2, you see that it's a noticeably bigger button, but it's also a lot easier to press. Like, this is actually sort of, it's got more resistance to it, and so when the phone's in your hand, it's a little bit challenging to actually press press that button. But I mean, you know, you can work around those things, but that's just my initial reaction to the button. Check back with my other videos. I'm going to talk more in depth about the software between a lot of these guys, especially between iOS and Sense and TouchWiz, and so we'll probably do a number of other reviews here for all three of these, or comparing the S3 to these other two phones, and so keep an eye on my channel. Thanks for watching.